for step 5, the differential gear, we're going to need to grab all the different pieces for this. And I've already got the main differential housing. You can see the grease that came out of bag A as well. And then, of course, all of the metal gears that we're going to need, plus the tapping screws, which are going to be used afterwards to screw that plate on so that the differential is enclosed. So I'll just set this up and we'll start putting these gears in and start greasing them up. So let's grab our grease from bag A, and we are going to put this gear in. Now, as you can see right there, there's some shadowing, which basically means that they're saying put a little bit of grease down there. So we will. There we go. Because it's going to have the moving part on top of it, so might as well have a little bit of grease down there. And then you can see that we just need to pop this on top. Now I'm going to pop it on top first and put it in, and then grease it up as it shows here. So let's do that. So I've got a fair amount on there, but you'll see here that they want you to grease up each of the little bevel gears, which is fine, but I want to show you how I would do this. Now, it's showing that you want to grease up these posts, which is what the gear is going to sit on. So we'll do that. And I'll stick one on there. I'll stick another one on there, and then I'm going to hold those two just so I can grease up this last one. And I'll put the bevel on there. Now you'll see that they want you to grease those bevel gears. Well, I do it a different way. I'm going to grease them, but I like to do it a different way. So we'll put this in place, and you can see that it's to go into those holes just like that. But because it's down there and in the gear, okay, on the gear that we just put on, I can now use that and move the gears and grease at the same time, which I find this way easier than trying to grease them beforehand, because once you've got everything moving, you can actually see that they're getting properly greased all the way around. So, and even these, you can see this one I haven't done, but it's already greased. Why? Because everything is moving now. So I technically don't even need to grease that one, because it's got all the grease that's been moving around with everything else I'm doing. But either way, you can see I've got quite a bit of grease in there for those gears. So the one thing that's left now is, you can see the picture. It looks like exactly like what we've done. But now you can see that this is going to go on top. Now the funny thing is they're not really showing you greasing the top part. I'm going to, because it's already going to get greased with everything else, but let's just do it. And then you can see that we're going to put that on top, and you can see that this piece is going to fit on top of there. So they want you to grease up the top part, which we can do. So now that it's in place, we just have to put the cap on. Now those 3 holes for the screws are going to align with the 3 holes that the screws are going to go into. So these pegs on the other side are actually going into these spots here around the gear. So you can see that if I slide that onto there, it now lines up perfectly, and we can screw in the screws. And of course we've got our tapping screws right here ready to go. So let's do that. Let's put this on. So if we grab our screwdriver. And I'm going to grab one of the smaller screwdrivers. There we go. And we'll stick that one in. Now, as with everything else I do, again, I'm not screwing them all the way in. I'm going around and making sure that everything is seated right so that there aren't any problems. You don't want anything binding as you're putting this together, so I never do one and then move to the next one. I always go in a circular pattern or a crisscross pattern when I'm screwing these in, just to make sure everything's fine. And it seems like everything's moving properly, so I think we're okay. Yeah. So there we go. There is our differential complete. Now, before we move on to step 6, I want to show you a tip, and I suggest you do this with any differential that you build for any car. If you notice, when moving to step 6, we start working on other gears, and the first time we're actually putting in the shafts or the drive joints is in step 12. But that's after the gears and everything else and the gearbox are completely finished with the motor. Well, what happens if for some reason we didn't build this right? There's no way to tell. And then you'd have to rebuild the differential. So what I would suggest you do is, if you go back into this bag, which has parts tree N, you'll see that there are the drive cups right here. So I'm going to grab both of these cups, and I'm not going to clean them up right now because we're just doing this temporarily, but I am going to put the drive cups into the differential. And I'm doing this because I want to see that this is working. So if I hold them together and move, they're both going in one direction. If I turn it the other way, they're going in the other direction. Now for the test, I'm going to move the right. Will it work? Yes. The left side is solid, the right is moving. I'm going to hold this one, move this one. Right side is solid, left is moving. So I can do this. So I can tell that the differential has been built right. There's nothing binding. Once again, everything is moving fine. So this differential's fine. So now I don't mind putting the rest of the gearbox together because I know that we're not going to have a problem later on. So that's just a tip. Grab your drive cups and put them into the differential before moving to the next step, just to make sure that it's working. So let's move to step 6 now, and we're going to work on the counter gear.